Hey guys, welcome back to the iPhone app creation tutorial series. This is video number 20, and thank you for sticking along all through. This tutorial is about creating a book tracker app right from the scratch. So if you're joining me towards the end of this series, I would request you to go back to the playlist, go to video number 1 and walk your path through from video 1 to where I am today. If you are a advanced user, go ahead and or intermediate user, go ahead and see this video. This video we're going to particularly focus on passing values, displaying values, and also how do you update an already existing record back to a SQLite database after the values are changed. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and open Xcode. Your application is book tracker tutorial. Open that. And this is where we left. So if you recall last time, what happened was we tried to pass value through our display controller. We first changed the tab bar as well as the navigation bar title to edit book, because we wanted to repurpose the same file for editing as well, instead of trying to create another one, just to save some resources. So we changed it to edit book, and we took all the book information for that particular record in the did select in the select table view select event of update, and then we have assigned that to a class object with book name, author, and genre and status, which is sitting in the view controller where you want to, which is the add book view controller. If you see here, we define this book class, and we define a variable of type book class where we have assigned all the values. And after assigning, we were trying to see if we can print it. If you recall, we printed everything, it was printing fine, but as soon as we ran this, it was not holding the value in the text field, right? So just let's do one thing. Let's try to print it as well, just to showcase that yes, the book dot, let's say book name is there. But you'll see that when you're trying to assign it, it is not getting assigned. And I gave you the exercise of finding out why it is happening. All right. Okay, so let's run this. So when we run it, initially it takes a little bit longer time. So just bear with me as it comes along. There you go. So we have one book under to be read, the last scintilla. We swipe it, the swipe action of display book is called. If you go here, you can see that this will be the action which will be called, and if it is updated, it will come here, which I showed you just now, and then it will move to the selected index. So I'll say update. Bingo. So if you come here, you can see that come back to it. This is the file which is getting called. It is printing book.bookname, right? But the text field, when I try to assign it to text field, it is empty. Okay, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is I showed you the nil value and I commented it just to see that when this error comes. Let's try to run this. And let's say you want to directly go to add book, you want to add a new book. The moment you click on that, you will get an error right in this line. If you read it carefully, it says that unexpectedly found nil while unwrapping an optional value. So it's expecting a value, but it didn't get a value. Why? Because this value will only come if you're trying to come to this file through display book, but that's not what we did. We directly went here, right? We clicked on the tab bar, and that's where the problem is. So to avoid this, what you can do is you can bring the checking condition that is it nil, because it will be nil if it is directly going, and then probably you can print this right here. Make sense? Okay, now let's run it and at least see if this navigation directly or otherwise works fine or not. There you go. So the screen comes up. We'll do the same thing. We'll try to add books. You can see the title here, add book. I click on that, no error, so I can add a new book, right? And if I go to display book, and if I go to be read and I click on update, it should print the book name, because this time it is not nil. And I think it's working, but somehow still the value is not getting pushed to the text field where we want to store. Why is that? It is because if you look carefully here, we are doing few things. We are setting where the genre table is. If you recall, this is for positioning the the read status, the reading status, and right after that you can see reset button. If you recall, reset button we are calling to empty all the text fields. Because why did you do that? Okay, let me showcase that to you by remarking this, right? So I'm saying, hey, I don't want the reset button. So if I don't want the reset button, hopefully the value will come in. Probably part of that should work. And then we'll see where the problem comes, right? So so that you can appreciate and understand the value of each field, right? So you go to be read. This time you say update. You see here the last until has come. Where is the problem? The problem is if you, this is edit book by the way right now, right? So if I stop this and I do something else, I click on run and I directly go to the add book, and let's say I entered something, and then I go to display book, right? And then if I come back to add book again, it shows whatever I have typed, and that's the reason we call reset, so that whenever you come here, I want this to be empty if you're coming directly. If you're coming from somewhere else, that will be filled out with that value, okay? So you know that we cannot, or we can, but then it will be not the desired function that we want to. So what do you do? So to do this, genre table is required in both the condition. This is required only if you're coming directly. So what you can do, you can put an else statement here, and you can move this piece of code from here to here. So you know that book name will not be equal to nil if you're coming from directly from the display book, and if it is directly from the display book, and if it's directly coming, then this will not be satisfied. It can reset, right? Let's try it out just to showcase this is where it is, and let's run this. Okay, so we'll try to go directly first. We'll do the same thing. We'll enter some garbage value, and then let's say something like this, and then let's say I want to go to display book. I want to see something, and then okay, so I want to go back again. See, now all the values are gone because it is satisfying which condition? The second condition, and it is resetting it, right? I have small other problem before before the problem. Let's try it now that we can set the text field. Similarly, we can set the book name. Similarly, we can set the book. What is the other text field? We have author text field, right? Author text field dot text equals to book dot author name. Then you have genre text field dot text equals to book dot genre, and then we have one more, right? The status text field dot text. These are the fields you have already defined, right? Book dot status. Give a space, otherwise we'll start giving error. Okay, so now at least we have all the values coming in. We can change. We still haven't written the update function, but let's see how it functions. We come here, we go to add. See here, the title is add book, right? And I come here and I update it. Bingo, it becomes edit book. But what if I go out of this? I don't want to edit it, so I go out of this. The moment I go out of this, shouldn't this be known as add book again? Because I'm out of edit, right? But it's still saying edit book. And if I click on this, the values are still showed because the book is still there, which is a good thing to happen. But what if I make it all empty, go back here and come back here? It should become add book. It's again showing all the value because it is coming from the book name. So in other words, if I leave the edit book, if I come to display book, I want to change this to add book. So that's an exercise I'll give you. It's easy, you know that how to do it. I will not show that to you maybe in the next class, but that's something you can do. But what we want to do now is we have these values and I want to change few things. Like I say, hey, this is not a fiction. Let's say it's a thriller. I'm just making it up. So I want to change it to thriller, and from to be read, I want to make it, let's say, read. Okay. And then when I click on this, I want to save it, right? But right now, if I click on this, it'll create another record. Why? Because my update record is still not there. So I don't want to do that. I want to write my update record, which is what the next thing I'm going to teach you. Okay. Now, how do you do that? Stop this function. So what you need to do, just like you have a save, you have the validate, you do validation of everything and then you save. We will do the same thing here, right? If you recall this validate function, from where you're calling it, let's see from where you're calling it. You're calling it down below, I think. Let's search for it, right? You can, that's easy. Command F, validate button. Oh, I'm sorry, validate button is actually a IB function. So it is a function linked to their action, right? So if you recall, if you go to main storyboard, takes a little bit of time. But if you come here, let's see this one. If you click on it and go to the properties, you'll see that there is it is linked to add book validate button, right? So which is add book is nothing but, come here, this is a validate button add book, right? So this function is called directly from there. So we want to do the same thing here, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that it knows that it is not for saving but for updating. How do you do that? Okay, so to do that, what you do is there are many different ways to do it, but I'll teach you a trick which will come very handy later on for you. So what you do is go to your, after you have set everything, right, you will let the user change it, and after changing they'll click on the validate button. When they click on the validate button, they should know that it is not for save, right? That's what you want to do. So what we want to do is, this time when it comes here, we know, by the way, this print is not important anymore, so I'll delete it. This time you know that this is for update. So what you can do is, you can do a few things. You can put a flag and you can set that flag as, hey, if the flag is equal to, let's say, update, then you update, and if flag is equal to save, you save, right? That's one way to do it. There's another trick, I'll show that to you as well, but let's define a flag. Just like we defined the book class, within the book class, let's have a flag as well. All right, or you know what, it's not type of book, so I'll not put it under book, otherwise that's not part of the book, so I'll put it outside. Let's say var, I'll say flag, or I can rather say update flag. How about that? That will be much more readable. Update flag, and this is of type boolean, and by default the update flag is false because it will only be true when you're calling from somewhere else. From where you're calling from here, when you're calling from here, right? Just like you've set all this value here, you can say view controller dot update flag. If it is not coming, I've told this before to you, just build it once, so compiler knows that the file has all the values. So once you build, you should be able to see it. View controller dot update flag, there you go, and there you can make it true. Now all you have to do is you come back here, just like all the book values are getting set here, automatically your update flag is also set to true. So what you do is right here you can put a condition. Let me teach you switch here, right? So you can say another way to do if and else. So you can say switch, and you can give the switch value as update flag, and after putting the update flag you can say if case is true, right, and then you do update. If the case is false, you do save. So what I'll do is, or maybe I should move this here. You first do all the validation, right? This is the validation you're doing. When you're trying to save, right here I'll put the condition. Okay, so you're saying switch. If it is true, then you have to do something else. If it is false, you're going to do save book. Okay, if it is true, what do you want to do? I will create another function, right? So I'll put a function here, maybe function update book. All right, and I will call update book from here. All right, right now my update book is empty, so we have to do it. You know how to do how to get certain references. We can do that right here. So you can, just like you've done the save book, right? So you have to first get your app delegate. Remember, anything to do with SQLite, you have to get the app delegate. So I'll define a variable app delegate, and I'll say UI application. Remember that I've taught this before to you. Dot shared dot delegate, and you say this is of type app delegate, the class app delegate. So there's a difference. This is small a because this is a variable I'm defining. All right, cool. So once you have done that, then you go to let context, because that's where you get the context of saving, right, or updating or deleting, whatever you want to do. So from the app delegate that you have defined with the small a, you get the persistent container, right? Once you get the persistent container, then you get the view context. Okay, now we got the context as well. Now after getting the context, since I'm updating, I have to first retrieve the record which I want to save. So I have to query, right? You have done query before. So how do you do query? You have to define a fetch request, and the fetch request, you know that you have to query from book, which is your entity, and book dot fetch request, and you'll say this is as ns fetch request. I'm going quickly over this because I've done this before to you. I've taught this before to you. If you are still confused, you can go to the relevant video. I think it should be around in the beginning, around 10 or around 8 or 10th video, where you can learn more about it. Okay, so you get the fetch request. I think my spelling FETCH. Okay, however, that doesn't matter. It's a variable name, but I want to name it right. So that's the fetch request you have defined. Once you define the fetch request, what do you do next? You define a condition, because you don't want all the records. You want only the record that you want to update. You say predicate, and you put a condition by saying ns predicate, and you say format, right? And format, then you give your condition here. What is the condition? Wherever the book name, let's do with a book name now, and I'll tell you why this is not the right thing to do little later. Did we do book ID before? Hold on, let me quickly check that. Maybe I have taught you how to create a UUID. Let's go down and see if you're creating the UUID. If we are, then it will be brilliant. Add book, save. Where is the save book gone? I think it's up right here. Yeah. Yep, you have done this. You remember this book ID? I think that's a better way to do it. Why? You may have the same book with same name but a different author maybe, right? So it's better you do it with book ID. So I'll say book ID. Oops, sorry, wrong place. Book ID. That's the name, right? You can see that's book ID, right? Is equals to percentage ampersand. Okay, that's how you give value, and then you'll give the book ID. How do I get the book ID now? So I need a book ID here. So you have to pass the book ID to this. But your question will be, how do I get my book ID? Right? So one way is a book dot book ID. Oops, there is no book ID here, right? How do you get the book ID? So let's remark this one now. You know that when we are displaying book, we are getting everything. I'm pretty sure the book ID is here as well. So if you go to your add book, and just like you define your class with all the book names and all, sorry, here, where is the class here? You should have a book ID as well. I think we should put it on the top just from a readability standpoint, and say book ID is of type string 2, right? Okay, and then when you're passing all the values, remember you're passing all the values, that time you should say view controller dot book ID. Oops, why you're not getting it? You remember this, right? You have to build this so that the compiler knows that yes, there's a change on the other file. Once you build it by pressing Command B, and you say book.book ID, you got it here, and then you say I want to get it from the current books. When you're retrieving, I'm pretty sure you're retrieving the book ID as well. So when you say not, you got the book ID, so you're passing the book ID here. Now if you, oops, what did I do wrong? Oh, self dot, yeah. So once you're passing the book ID, then if you go back here, your add book, since you passed the book ID, and if you're going to your update now, right here, you're getting a predicate. You say, hey, the book ID is the book that has been passed, because it's an update anyways, you know, this will only call when you're updating it, and the book ID. Did you get this? I will review it once again so that you know what I'm doing. Okay, so for now, you pass the book ID, you have captured the book ID, and then passing it to the predicate. That's a condition. You want to only get that book which has the book ID same as what has been sent for the update. Once you do that, then you say fetch request, which is the variable you defined before, and you say predicate equals to the predicate you have defined. Moment to do that, couple of warnings will go away. There you go. Context is still not used, which is okay, and that's the reason it's giving the warning. So once you have done the fetch request, what I'll do is, since I'm going to retrieve the books, I'll say, hey, I want to define, let's say, update book, a variable, which is of type book, right? And which could be array. Usually it will be only one value. I'm saying here it could be an array as well. Okay. Once you have defined that, now is the time to run your do catch, right? You remember the do catch? So do, you say in the update book which you have written, you know what, I did a mistake. You cannot have, I have given both the names same, to just to avoid confusion, I say UPD maybe books. Okay. Now I'll use this. I say UPD books, update books is equal to, I'm going to do a try catch. Remember that you have to always try, because you're going outside of the program to database. If the record is not there, it will fail, which we need to catch, right? So it's a fetch. What you're going to fetch? The fetch request. So now you have passed this fetch request the context. Even the context error is gone now. Oops. Why the error? Because there is no catch, right? So you know how to do a catch. Right after the try, you do a catch, and you say, hey, if I catch the error, print the error, right? And it provides a error by default. I'm printing it. Okay. You're still getting a warning by saying, hey, you have a variable you have not written to, but you never used it. Okay. I have written it where I've written here. So how do I use it? So if you, so far what I have done is get me, you want to update, I have the book ID, it has got the record, and if the last scintilla book will be here in update books, right? Once it is there in the update book, what you want to do next? You want to update the book, right? So you say for let's say book in update books. Usually it will be only one record, but I'm just taking a chance. If you have two books, you can use this, right? If you get more than one, okay, say for books in books, and maybe you should write a code by removing the for and the array, which maybe we should try in the next tutorial. But for now, I'm using it as an array, which will not be the case because we have only one book ID per case. But for now, I'm using the loop to show you, though the loop will only run for one. You say let, what you want to do is define a variable. Let's say I'll say book to update, right? This is a book to update variable. I say get the book, which is your this variable, as ns manage object, which is your entity. Oops, ns managed object. Okay, object. Okay, so I got the book now. So that means I got the book to update. It has got everything. Now what you have here is an old value. You need to update with the new value, right? So now how do you do it? You say book to update, which is the book you have gotten, it has a name, author, genre, all you need to update. So you simply say set value. For that, I want to change the value now. So what value you want to change? So you want to get the book text dot whatever you have, right? If you recall here, whatever in the text field, right? Because you'll be updating in the text field. So you'll say book text field dot text, whatever in the text I want that. For what key? What is the name? It's the entity name. I think it's a book name. You can check the entity name anytime by going to your object model. You say book name, right? Book name, author name, all of those will change. Okay, so you come here, you change the book name. Similarly, you have to do book to update dot set value. This time we'll do author text field dot text. Change the author to what I have as author name. Make sure these names are exactly how you're given in the genre. Okay. Similarly, book to update dot set value genre text field dot text, and we'll say genre. I think it's genre, right? We can check again. Genre, GENRE, author name, and then we have status. Okay, the last thing, status. Okay, so I'll say book update, book to update, set value, status text field dot text. So whatever you have now changed, that has to go to status. See that I have not updated the book ID, because book ID will not be updated. It's an internal reference, right? Only for that book ID I'm changing everything else, right? Once you have done that, what you need to do is you have to do a do catch again, this time for saving. So do, you say try, whatever I have done in the context, please save it. Let's save the updated value for me. It will again require for a catch. You know how to catch it. And when you catch, you simply say print error. You can do many things here, but I'm make it simple by saying print error. And once you have printed the error, you have updated it. So you may like to go back to your tab bar controller. Remember, this something like this, like tab bar controller, right? So tab bar controller dot set selected index. You want to go back to the original one, right? So it says 0. Okay, so let's run this and see if it is happening, it's doing the job or not. So just to refresh your memory, we pass the book ID because that is important, based on which I'm going to make a search. So we already have retrieved it. I've taught you book ID in the last tutorial. Once it is done, what we have done is we have also done if else here. We're only calling reset when it is required, so that all the value can be shown in the text field. Once shown, you'll do all the update, and once doing the update, you'll click on the update button. It'll come here, it will validate for everything. If it is empty, it will prompt for it. If it is not empty, it will go to switch. It'll say, hey, is the update flag true? When will the update flag become true? I'm trying to indent it. It will be only true if you're coming from where? From your display book, right? Otherwise, your update flag is false, right? So if you're directly going, it will be false, no harm done, and oops, where is it gone? Yeah, no harm done. And it will call the save book just like it was doing before. If it is true, if it is coming from there, it will call update book, which is here. We did same thing. We got the context, we got the fetch request, we got the delegate. We define the book ID, which we have taken before. Say, hey, get me that record only. And once you have done that, we defined a variable where you want to retrieve everything. You say, hey, get me everything wherever the book ID is equal to this. We know it will be only one record, so I've given exercise to you that remove the array and try to make it like one record. So then I'm running a loop. In that case, you don't have to run a loop because it is one record. That's an exercise, and we'll try to change in the next tutorial. And then we are saying that, hey, since I already have that record, for that, can I change my book name to whatever is in the text field, author name, genre, and status? Once it is done, you're calling the save. If the save is successfully done, it will move to display. All right, let's run it. Let's run it and see if it works. it is in to be read, so we'll make a change by saying the reading, right? So if it is reading, it should come here, right? Okay. Say update. I say currently reading. Fiction, I'll make it thriller. How about that? And rest I'll make it same. Once it is done, look, I have come from there. If I save it now, it's in reading, right? It's not in to be read. You've seen another mistake, that though it was in reading, the highlight was there in to be read. So this is something you can change. Now if you see update, it should show thriller as well. You see it's showing thriller. So yes, bingo, it's working perfectly fine. And if you go back here and if I directly call it read book, it should become add book now. You're changing all of those, and then you say, hey, I want to add a book, and let's add a new book. You Are Dead by James Patterson, famous British author. It's a thriller. Okay. And by the way, another exercise we want to do is, hey, it could be a thriller as well as a fiction. So how about we want to select two? That's another exercise we should do, right? Selecting more than one. And say I'm currently reading again, right? So done this, save this. Oh, you ate dead. Okay, we have an update. We can change it instead of, I think that is a typo, to be read. But see what it has done is, it is still updating the record. It is not doing it. Why is that? That's an exercise I want to give you. It has changed my last scintilla to you are dead. My record is not created new. It is still thinking it is update record. So how do you change that? That's number one. Number two is, I want to show you that if I directly go to add book and I say this time the last scintilla, and let's say I say Shantanu Barua, and I say fiction, and I say currently reading. This time if I save, it is not overwriting it. It only overwrites when once I click update, then no new records are getting created. I'll give you a hint. This is because your update flag is set to true always. Once it is done true, it's never getting reset to false. If you reset it to false, then it will work out. And figure out where you need to do it. It's in a particular event, you can do it. If I update this now, yes, you are dead is changed, but if I want to add anything new, it will only change this one. And by the way, it's again showing you ate dead, though I change it to you are dead. That's another thing you can see, that there's few nuances are moving around, which is not working fine, right? If you stop it and run it again, you are dead is there, and now if you update it, it is coming as you are dead, right? So few nuances. Why don't you try to correct it, and we will try to clean that up as well in the next video. Thank you for listening, and you have a great one. And again, please do give a subscribe to my channel. And if you want to learn it completely, start from video 1, please. This is the 20th video, so there are about 19 more videos before this. Thanks again. Take care. Bye now.